Salut! Welcome back to 5 Minute Molière, sponsored by Casey Molière, 420-2022. What inspired Louis XIV, the Sun King, to build the palace and gardens of Versailles? That's the story I want to cover it today and Molière was a part of what inspired the building of Versailles. And this is the story. First, we start with a man named Nikola Fouquet. Fouquet loyally served the king. From the time the king was 5 years old, Fouquet was putting France's finances in order. France's economy was a shambles, and Nikola Fouquet was very, very good with money. So that was the first important thing he did, but he also became personally wealthy, and he used his money to support the arts and artists. He sent away to Italy for the finest artworks, and he supported French artists. Well, in the 1640s, Fouquet bought some land about 30 miles southeast of Paris and hired the greatest artist to build a perfect palace there. The artists were Louis Leveau, architect, André Lenotre, landscape artist, Charles Lebrun, painter and interior decorator, and we have already talked about Jean de La Fontaine, the great author of fables, a poet, and he was hired and sponsored by Fouquet. So Fouquet was a good man. So after 20 years of designing and building, the Palace of Vaux-le-Vicomte was ready to open in 1661. On August 17th, 1661, Fouquet had prepared a great festival evening to honor the king. The king was invited there. He drove over in his carriage and there were 600 other guests that arrived at Vaux-le-Vicomte around 6 o'clock in the evening. It was all lit up with candles, magic lanterns. It was like a fairyland. And the king rested, and then he got a fabulous banquet by the great chef Vatel. And then the palace itself was just amazing. We don't have time to look at everything, but look at this. If you came in the courtyard, you could see straight through the clear glass doors into this oval room that then looked out on the magnificent gardens behind it. Just amazingly landscaped by Lenotre. And of course, there are whole books on the beautiful layout, and you can still see it yet today. So it was just like a fairy tale evening for the 600 guests, and all aimed at pleasing the king. In the gardens at Vaux-le-Vicomte was a kind of stone construction with fountains built in, and that served as a backdrop or a place for Molière's company to do their outdoor performance on the grounds that evening. After dinner, the guests strolled out through the beautiful gardens and the canals, and this is called the grille d'eau, where fountains of water could create a sort of curtain of water. Oh, there was a constructed set designed by the great Italian magician Giacomo Torelli. But what was interesting was Molière came out dressed not in costume and just explained that he'd had only 2 weeks to create this, and that there would be dances between the acts of the play. And then, amazingly, the statues started coming to life, and satyrs jumped out from behind the trees and all danced. And then there was a great shell that opened, and Madeleine Béjart appeared out of the shell as a naiad or a nymph, kind of scantily clad. And then they went into the play. Well, the play Molière had written is called Les Fâcheux, and it's a very simple plot. A young man has come to the park hoping to see the woman he loves, and he keeps getting intercepted by obnoxious people, every type of obnoxiousness you can imagine. The king loved the play, and at the end suggested, wait, you forgot one type of obnoxious person. And of course, Molière took the hint and added another boor or fâcheux, or I call him a pest, to the play, and it was performed again for the king at Fontainebleau not long afterward. So Molière really won the favor of the king at this on August 17th, 1661. It turned out very well for him, but perhaps not so well for the great host, Nikola Fouquet. In fact, that lavish entertainment brought his ruin. The king became very quiet over the course of the evening and was holding back. And then finally, instead of staying the night at Vaux-le-Vicomte, he left in his carriage. And a few days later, Fouquet was arrested and accused of embezzlement and treason. Here, this man who was totally loyal to the king, accused of treason, and came very close. Louis wanted him executed. Why? Well, jealousy. Here Louis was quite a bit younger, but nobody should have a palace more magnificent or a lifestyle more magnificent than the king himself. And that was Fouquet's grave misjudgment. Excellent taste in the arts, but misjudging the king. Also, there was this man, Colbert, who had been pouring poison into the king's ear against Fouquet. I think he's the villain of the story. But of course, if there's so many biographies of Louis XIV, and some of them come out in favor of Colbert. But I am very decidedly on the side of Fouquet. I think this was an honest man who knew how to use money and wisely on the arts. What could be better? And he did not deserve what was done to him by any means. I think it was the greatest mistake Louis XIV ever made. So that's the story. There's a lot more to it, but that is why Louis XIV came to build the Palace of Versailles and attempt to make it more magnificent than Vaux-le-Vicomte. And he actually raided stole the chandeliers. He took the artists who had built Vaux-le-Vicomte and used them to design and build Versailles. But the other good side is at least it coincided with the rise of Molière.